am a leader who speaks the truth.
I will not reconsider my decision of executing Mr. Hills tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I have taken the right step to transfer the economy from non-citizen to the citizen. I think they will be sitting like they are sitting on the fire.
What will you do to them?
Okay, you will see.
I will become the highest man in the armed forces, general, and also I will be president of this country. And they have.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jonathan Benaya. I am a nature photographer and a travel blogger. If you're new to this channel, please do it the way we do it. Hit the subscribe button. And if you're part of the community, please do what we normally do, smash that like button. Leave a comment in the comment section below and show me some love. Share this with someone that might need it. In this particular video, I'll share with you my 8 intriguingly funny things about Idi Amin. This year 2019, Uganda celebrates 57 years of independence on the 9th of October. But over the years, the country has had quite a number of leaders. Uganda had its first president after independence, and his name was Sir Edward Luwangula Walugembe Mutesa II, who was also the king of Buganda by then. Mutesa II ruled Uganda from the 9th of October 1963 to the 2nd of March 1966. He was toppled by Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, who ruled the country from 15th April 1966 to the 25th of January 1971. And then we had Yusuf Chironde Lule, who ruled the country for the shortest period, between the 13th of April 1979 to the 20th of June 1979. He was followed by quite an intellectual chap called Godfrey Lukongwa Binaisa, who was the president of Uganda from the 25th of June 1969 to the 12th of May 1980. And then we had the second regime of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote between the 17th of December 1980 to the 27th of July 1987. He was followed by Tito Okello Lutwa, who was an army general. And this guy ruled Uganda between the 19th of July 1985 to the 26th of January 1986, when an energetic Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the current president of Uganda, took over. Did I forget someone? Yes, Idi Amin ruled Uganda between the 25th of Jan 1971 and the 11th of April 1979. That was right after the first regime of Apollo Milton Obote and right before the regime of Yusuf Lule. Close to half a century ago in 1971, a leader infamous for the most rose to power, and he would forever write his name in the books of African history. British politician David Owen once said, "He should have been assassinated. He was one of the worst of all African regimes."
Idi Amin, most amazing man there's ever been. He the general, the president, the king of the scene. Idi Amin.
Look at the history and packed with men. What rising to the top and getting chopped again. No one fathoming the secret of the whole damn thing. You gotta give the population something to sing.
Standing right on the Kampala Jinja Highway, right behind me. The forest that you see is Mabira Forest. It's believed that several years ago this place used to have quite a number of roadblocks, and the forest at one time was used as a rebel hideout. I'm heading to Jinja, to the shores of the Nile, so the story will continue.
Wrong, they never got the population singing along.
Idi Amin, most amazing man there's ever been. He the general, the president, the king of the scene. Idi Amin.
Listen, with the world famous Kampala Key Club man keeping in the damn background, what the hell going on here? It looking like some kind of musical coup to me.
right here on the banks of the Nile River. Right behind me is the Nile, the world's longest river. Across the river is Wild Waters Lodge, one of the most luxurious lodges in Uganda. The Nile River flows from that side. If you go that side, you will meet the new source of the Nile Bridge, beyond which you'll see the actual source of the Nile, where this river begins to flow. It's believed it takes a 3-month journey towards that direction till it empties its waters in the Mediterranean Sea. This place has grown to become a tourist hub, so there are quite a number of activities that take place here. We have definitely whitewater rafting, we have kayaking on the Nile, we do have people that come here for the quad bike, and we have horseback riding just across the river. And it's kind of branded Jinja City into the adventure capital of East Africa. But several years ago, close to half a century ago, about 48 years ago, during the regime of Idi Amin, it's believed the river used to flow with dead bodies. And one has it that actually our parents, we grew up hearing from our parents that whenever you would annoy Idi Amin, together with his men, he would execute you, and your body would be dropped in one of the falls, and then your body would flow down over the rocks all the way towards northern Uganda and onwards. So people would come to the river to fetch water, and it's believed that they would meet dead bodies on the way, or they would also meet dead bodies in the river. Whether that is true, I guess it's subject to more research. Yeah, but the beauty of the story is that this place has been transformed into one of the biggest adventure hubs on the African continent. Because you have a buzz of activity that happens here. You have horseback riding on the banks of the Nile. You have people who come down here to camp and have a good time with family. And it's a bittersweet story, which partly shows that river that used to be a domed area during the regime of Idi Amin Dada has now been transformed into a beautiful and amazing tourism hotspot.
But when you go through vintage depths, you seem to see a fine line between fury and a man who loved his country, even if his pronunciation of the common phrase, Pearl of Africa, left you laughing.
If they wanted Uganda to be called as a Pearl of Africa, as was said by late Sir Winston Churchill.
Most accounts reveal that he was born in Koboko to a Kakwa father and a Lukbara mother in 1925. This date is, however, quite confusing because some accounts point to 1923, while his son Hussein, in an interview, said his father was born in Kampala in 1928. If you do not know, Kakwa land is located in West Nile. This is a section in the northwestern part of the country. The Kakwa are believed to be closely related to the Nubians of southern Sudan. Little is said about Idi Amin's dad, but some books show that, like many African kids, he was abandoned by his father at a very tender age, and he was raised by a single mother, a lady called Ate Asa.
Duty of the woman is the house woman. He knows how to keep house very well. If he can do that, let me make first examinations, appoint women to be the managers of hotel, which is done.
I guess this also partly explains why you hear more about his mother, who unfortunately died in 1970, just a year before he became president. Madame Asa raised Idi Amin in Kampala, where she served as a traditional herbalist, a healer who served several royals in the Buganda kingdom, the most predominant kingdom in Uganda. I guess this also partly explains the presence of a Nubian community in Kampala. We call them Abanubi.
They do before they jump. It warms them completely.
But those stories you read about Idi Amin show that he was not well educated. There was an outright lack of a decent form of education, and you could say that this is why he often did agree with the learned, or call them the elites.
You shouldn't. If you want, you come direct to Uganda and get your representative in Kampala so that he can give you accurate information. But I wanted to ask you, are you not afraid of interviewing the conqueror of the British Empire as you are British? You are not afraid of... Everybody, they loves me, and therefore I am one of their hero in the country, and therefore everybody is responsible for my security. I am not afraid because I know exactly how and when I will die. This I know.
But when you study him really close and you read books of history, you'll know that even in his many flaws, there wasn't a lack for wisdom in the way he acted. In 1946, Idi Amin joined the Imperial British Army, the King's African Rifles. At this point, he only served as a cook. And when a time came when they needed an extra pair of boots, the man joined the army, quickly rising in the ranks to reach the title of Afande in 1959, which by then was the highest possible rank for a black African in the colonial British Army. Idi Amin is recorded to have been a very devoted officer who executed all his tasks exceptionally.
You are all right for your communication?
Yes.
Muton, Ogenda D Kumigi 23.
He fought for the British during a mission to Somalia and also fought during the Mau Mau rebellion. Idi Amin is also remembered for having participated in the quelling of the cattle rustling in Karamoja between the Karamojong community of northeastern Uganda and the Turkana nomads of western Kenya. Quite notably, Idi Amin was the commander-in-chief of Obote's army when Obote came into leadership. But most fascinating of all is that he deposed him in 1971 in a bloodless coup while Obote was attending a Commonwealth Heads of State conference in Singapore. His reason for toppling Obote was that Obote was allying with his own tribesmen and forgetting or rather abandoning all other tribes in Uganda.
The members of the Uganda Army and Air Force decided to take over from the civilian role because of the last arrangement which were made by the Dr. Apollo Milton Obote to disarm the whole tribe of Uganda except his own tribe Langi and Acholi.
I am not ambitious of standing for power, but my job is that I want to hand over the government clean to somebody who is coming into power, all these corruptions, and then when he comes, he will have a good, he will know everything. Even I will brief him clearly, this is what we have got with the Commission of Inquiry report and how much he has got to hand clean government to him. And that's what I want. And then I can go back to barracks. And you will
surprised to see that I am first African who is not ambitious to hand over power to a person and then take again order from him. If I am still all right here, you come back, you will see that you come back when the next man into power here, you will see me, I'm coming, saluting him and obey his order.
But history books reveal that Amin was also in trouble, and he knew that he was ripe for investigation. Reports have it that he had embezzled funds, and when his cousin Isaac Maliyamungu learned about Obote's plan to investigate Idi Amin, he informed Idi Amin. Maliyamungu would later on become a brutal killing machine and the commander of Amin's army. There are a number of significant events that took place during Amin's tenure between 1971 and 1979. Quite significant was the 1972 economic war, which involved the famous August 1972 90-day ultimatum. This saw the exile of over 80,000 British Asians, most of whom had British passports but were born in Uganda.
This is the paper, August 17th, all Asians must go.
There were mainly Indians whose parents had been brought in by the British in the early years of colonial rule in Uganda. Idi Amin gave them 90 days, only 90 days, to leave Uganda. But he probably didn't know that they were the backbone of Uganda's economy. While he was chasing them away, he gave the notion that he intended to create opportunities for Ugandans because most of the businesses had been taken over by the Indians and the Asians.
What will happen to these people if they don't go by the time they do?
I think they will be sitting like they are sitting on the fire.
There's no seats available in any plane. You cannot go to a neighboring country. So we are, in fact, kind of isolated or kept in this place by force. Although he has given us a deadline, I don't see how we will be able to get out within the deadline. A statement has been made that those who stay here after the deadline will be sitting on fire. So we do not know what that sitting on fire really means.
I will tell you this. You just wait after 3 months.
What will you do to them?
Okay, you will see.
This was a move that was welcomed by many, especially those who were his close allies and those who were his supporters. But perhaps at that time, Ugandans were not yet ready.
You like Asians?
Yeah.
Are you sorry they're going?
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I like them. They can give us money in this market here. We are carrying for them baskets.
Anyway, it's good. It's good for them to go.
Why?
They have sacked us enough.
Will you be taking over their businesses?
Yes, according to the government's help.
No, I wouldn't, because on this I'm saying it in good faith, and this is the belief of the majority of the Ugandans. The Ugandans would rather suffer for 2-3 years more and restore themselves to prosperity than having Asian retailers coming back to manage their shops. I think the only role some Asians could play the role like the Madhvani family, the sugar tycoons like Mahendra Mehta family, the big estates where they can really inject new capital into industry. I detest the method he used to evict them. I think the method was barbarous, to say the least, but I think the results which were achieved by using that kind of brutal method of evicting them is a point of no return as far as ordinary Ugandans are concerned.
It certainly awoke the spirit of entrepreneurship in the country. And then significant event number 2 would be the raid on Entebbe. You'd want to go and watch the movies about that, but also visit the new museum that they're putting up at the old airport in Entebbe, where the event actually happened. So as we started out at the beginning of the video, I promised 8 things that I find intriguingly interesting about Idi Amin. And here they are. Number 1, Idi Amin had a very cute laugh. Okay, I'm just kidding about that one. Number 1 is actually Idi Amin was a very good sportsman. I grew up hearing stories that one time when the Ugandan Cranes, which is the official football team for Uganda, went to play in the African Cup of Nations tournament, he promised them a very huge prize if they won. But if they lost, he would spank all of them on the airport tarmac just after the aeroplane, Air Uganda, had flown them back. I'm not sure if this story is true, but what I know for sure is that he loved rugby, he enjoyed rally cars, and was an expert swimmer. His big physique, was 6'4" in height, implied that Idi Amin always stood out of the crowd wherever he went. He was also Uganda's light heavyweight champion for a period of 9 years from 1951 to 1960. Number 2, Idi Amin believed he was popular.
I am very popular. Obote is against any leader popular in Uganda.
Of course, you need to be popular to have people from years back and people in current times talking about you. We have so many movies about his regime. There is the example of the rise and fall of Idi Amin. Then you had The King of Scotland, in which Forrest Whitaker played the role of Idi Amin. You have the recent 7 Days at Entebbe, which narrates the raid on Entebbe. And then there was another movie called Raid on Entebbe. Several other movies that have been acted. I'm also glad to hear that the Uganda Tourism Board will be developing an actual separate Idi Amin trail to give people a feel of the story and bring to life the story of Idi Amin. Number 3, this man had many titles. Of course, he was the president of Uganda, so he had the title of His Excellency, he had the title of President for Life, which I find very sarcastic, and he was a devout Muslim, so he got the title of Al-Haji. I guess he made quite a number of trips to Mecca. And then there was a story of a vice chancellor who went missing, and then after some time we heard that Idi Amin attained a doctorate. Idi Amin also called himself the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but he also had to give himself the title of army chief of staff. That he amassed the highest rank in the army, field marshal, and actually till date that title is reflected on the website of the Ugandan State House. Idi Amin also had the Victoria's Cross, which is a prestigious title in the British Army. He had the Distinguished Service Order, Military Cross. He referred to himself as the last king of Scotland. When he fell out with the British in 1977, he thought it wise to brand himself the conqueror of the British Empire. Actually, at this time, the British Commission was closed, and it's during the same time that he shifted his alliance from Britain to the Islamic wing, so the Islamic countries. Idi Amin was also the chairman of the OAU, that's the Organization of African Unity, which today is the African Union.
The deadly poison to the unity, fraternity, and the independence of African states is now in its final stage of preparation in the political laboratories of the South African regime.
So he was the chairman in 1975. And then he was commonly referred to as Big Daddy, I guess because of his huge physique. So title number 15, which is probably my last but also most funny of them all, is he called himself the Lord of all the beasts of the earth and the fish of the sea. Number 4, Idi Amin had the most hilarious speeches you'll ever hear. Amin was known to throw around wrong English phrases. He often wrongly used the words absolutely and completely when he was talking and trying to emphasize a point. He actually at one point said, "I think you guys mock me because you do not understand what is in my head, because I do not know how to relay it in speech." He wished they were in his brain to actually understand what exactly he meant. Here's one of the speeches that I find quite intriguing.
But this particular second point is very important. You must teach people to love their leader. This is the only most important. Like any country.
Kissinger is not very intelligent. Kissinger always go to the weakest leaders. He never go to Gaddafi. He never come to General Amin. He feared us.
Number 3, determinations. You people must work with the determinations and all other peoples. You must teach them to work with the determinations. If I go sometime even in the Ministry of Defense, I will not find even some commanders there in their offices. I know this. I've been telephoning several times, checking with them, I can't find. They are in their business in Kawempe, in somewhere, in Kampala, what. You must put your contribution. If I found you not to attend cabinet 3 times without reason, you are out of government.
And as a doctor, you must be very clean, very smart. You behave very well like a person. And also, you are not too drunk. You are the one who should advise the public. You should advise General Amin not to drink. This is very important. Because if a public learn that you are a drunkard, automatically they lose confidence, and even they can say that if I am going to get operation by that doctor, he's a drunkard, he will not do anything, and they will completely refuse. I am telling you sincerely. Also, to drink and overdrunk, it is not very good. You will not even enjoy more because you will not even have sense. But if you drink very little, you feel very happy, very proud, and you talk to your people. That will be. I'm just advising you.
And you should know that spy is a criminal. To be a spy is very bad. And your case is death completely, sentence. This is, I must make it absolutely clear. If I found anybody is a spy, and any spy is found, and anybody is coming in this cover, and if he is found to be spy, his case is a firing squad. He must be handed straight to military police, must be dealt with the military tribunal, because the case of spying is very serious. Anybody found is a spy, his case must be dealt with military tribunals.
Once it's confirmed, even military tribunals should not waste time of making whole day discussing about one person who is the spy. Must be shortcut.
Number 5. Idi Amin was extremely assertive and he got his point across. Idi Amin was arrogant, there's no doubt about that. He got what he wanted and he changed course whenever he felt something wasn't going the way he had envisioned it. One time he tricked some British chaps into carrying him aloft. Another time he threatened them into bowing down to him. The conqueror of the British Empire, I guess, partly explains why. And there was that interview where he must have sent shockwaves down a British journalist's spine when he asked about his foreign policy.
You shouldn't. If you want, you come direct to Uganda and get your representative in Kampala so that he can give you accurate information. But I wanted to ask you, are you not afraid of interviewing the conqueror of the British Empire as you are British? You are not afraid of...
But adding to his crazy policies and infamous foreign policy, he got the liking of some of the world's most controversial leaders. He seemed to like Hitler, Libya's Muammar Gaddafi was a good friend of his, Arafat from the Middle East was a good friend of his. He got quite the attraction from the Soviet, from Russia and all those nations. Number 6. Idi Amin needed no PR officer. Of course, there are stories of journalists who unfortunately got their nuts squeezed for putting out the wrong stories. There's a funny one about a journalist. There's a journalist that narrates a story to NTV Uganda, and he says he wrote this story about Idi Amin's raid on Tanzania, where he intended to say Idi Amin raped Tanzania, but there was a spelling mistake in the headline and it came out as Idi Amin rapes Tanzania. So this guy was called in to meet Idi Amin, a furious Idi Amin, and the funny thing is that he was freaked out to the peak and he messed his pants.
The stomach turned. Yeah. The poo-poo. I said, now, how can I poo-poo in the office of the president? So I closed the hole. It exploded.
I doubt Idi Amin needed a public relations officer back then. If you have a look at all his interviews, you see how jolly, how well composed he was in front of the camera.
I can't tell you any secrecy because you might pass this information to South Africa, which I am actually aiming to destroy Johannesburg and Cape Town. This is my aim. This I'm very serious about this.
I must make absolutely truth. The reason why I chased them from Uganda was because of the economy of Uganda. Uganda was going to be bankrupt. That is the reason why I chased away the Israelis. Why do you ask me about Hitler? The Hitler's problem is now past tense. Now we are looking forward for the future.
I have no anybody intention from now onwards. I wanted to be very friendly to entire world community. Thank you very much.
Actually, you can watch this interview with the BBC after he'd fled to exile in Saudi Arabia. He still had the confidence.
I am fresh, strong, and I am concerned with the situation in Uganda. Most of them, they love me, they pass their information to me, and they want me to save them from
the chaos situation which is now happening in Uganda. My intention is to work for my people, but not for me. That is the reason why, you know that if you check all banks all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the United States of America, you will never find account belong to me, because I work for the people of Uganda. I am a founder of the economic independence of Uganda.
Number 7. Idi Amin was a family man and he loved his kids. According to his sons Hussein and Jafar, Idi Amin had quite a number of kids. He's reported to have fathered at least 40 children, but his son Jafar, while speaking to CCTV, says there could have been more than 60. He married many, and it's reported that he held quite extravagant weddings. Actually, one of the weddings he planned to happen during the OAU summit while it was in Kampala, and one of the heads of state had to be his best man. There's this fascinating story about how he really loved music. He actually used to play the accordion, but he enjoyed live music, and often at the end of the party he would live with the lead singer or the cutest girl in the band.
A lot of them ended up as my mothers.
Actually, Daily Monitor reports that months before his death in Saudi Arabia in 2003, he had just recently married another wife. Although the public saw his aggressive side, his children say he was a very loving dad. The last one, and that's number 8. In his 8 years as president of Uganda, Idi Amin loved, developed, and was a patriotic leader. A lot of infrastructure is said to have been built during his time. Although much was lost during the war and during the political instability that happened during his time. He is said to have brought in the first colored TV, and during his time, Air Uganda was introduced as the official flag bearer of Uganda. It was one of the biggest airlines on the African continent, and Entebbe International Airport was one of the busiest airports and considered the best landing spot on the African continent. Unfortunately, along the way, Air Uganda collapsed, but the good news is that it's just been recently revamped, so it actually resumed commercial flights on the 28th of September.
If you catch Idi Amin, what you gonna do with it?
We are going to eat his flesh.
In fact, we want his head in Tanzania, his head.
We'll put him in a museum if it's possible.
I am not a person who is afraid of being assassinated, because I believe in God and I know exactly when and how I will die. And this is secret. And that is why I was the last man to withdraw from the battlefield. And
I remember I was just coming out of church when I heard the news that Amin had passed on. It didn't mean much back then. I was still a very young little man. The news had been reported by, I think they said his Hajati, she was called Nalongo Madina, with whom he was staying together with several of, I think about 25 of his kids. It was told that she had pleaded with the government of Uganda, the then government, which was the government of Yoweri Museveni, to have Idi Amin returned to Uganda. This was at a time when he was bedridden with kidney problems. But I guess they failed to agree, so the family decided to put Amin off life support on 2003, and he was announced dead. One of the biggest leaders on the African continent died quite a humble death in exile in Saudi Arabia. It one thing that cannot and will never be rolled out is the fact that Idi Amin wrote his name in the books of African history, and there will be no one that will ever erase that. Yeah, you might have some interesting discoveries, interesting things that you know about Idi Amin. Please go ahead and hit me up in the comment section below. But as I said, please do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to share this video, do not forget to like it, and I will see you in the next one.